be cold. इधर पहुंचे.
I am in the viewpoint.
Pit stop.
Father, you answer something.
I am in the viewpoint. It's okay.
No, he has to collect his.
His, that yellow color t-shirt, but I already saw his bag. Oh, that.
No, that's his friend.
Who's his friend?
You don't know his friend?
No.
Sanjeev
Who's Sanjeev?
from Munnar. Sanjeev from Munnar.
I don't think.
But how is the trail?
It's nice.
Is it steep or very flat?
Very flat.
Very flat.
Very flat.
என்னம்மா இப்படி கஷ்டப்படுத்துற? Oh. Okay.
But you have to still collect trash. It's anyways good.
Explain my address.
I've already collected the trash. Now it's your turn. You have to. You not even.
कடைசில ஷேர் இட்டு போடுவோம்.
ये आप लोगों को वॉक फैमिली के ट्रीज दिख रहे हैं. ये जो बड़े बड़े ट्रीज आप लोगों को दिख रहे हैं, ये देखो यहाँ पे है, यहाँ पे है, यहाँ पे है. तो ये वॉक फैमिली के ट्रीज हैं. तो इसमें सबसे छोटा होता है सिल्वर वॉक, ठीक है. बीच वाला होता है गोल्डन वॉक, उससे सबसे लोअर एल्टीट्यूड यानी कि 6000 5000 से 7000 तक पाया जाता है सिल्वर वॉक. उससे ऊपर पाया जाता है गोल्डन वॉक, फिर पाया जाता है आपका ग्रीन वॉक और ब्राउन वॉक, ठीक है. और लोकल लैंग्वेज में सबसे नीचे उसको बोलते हैं बाँझ, और बीच में ये खरसू, और ऊपर आपको मिलेगा तेलिंग ऊपर वाले एरियाज़ में, ठीक है. तो ये चारों ओर जो आपको दिख रहे हैं ये गोल्डन वॉक के पेड़ हैं. बाकी आपको ये जो छोटे वाले, इसको आइडेंटिफाई कैसे करोगे? जो सिल्वर वॉक है उसके जो लीव्स होते हैं उसके पीछे सिल्वर कलर होता है, इसीलिए उसको सिल्वर वॉक कहते हैं. और जो ये गोल्डन वॉक है उसके पीछे गोल्डन कलर होता है. ग्रीन वॉक के दोनों तरफ ग्रीन रहता है, और ब्राउन वॉक भी बहुत रेयर है, वो उसके पीछे ब्राउन ब्राउन सा कलर हो जाता है. और बाकी इसी में आपको यहाँ पे देखो ये रोडोडेंड्रॉन के ट्रीज दिख रहे हैं. इसका साइंटिफिक नेम है रोडोडेंड्रॉन. इसका कोई इंग्लिश नाम नहीं है तो हम बता नहीं सकते, क्योंकि इंग्लिश के पास सेंटेंसों की कमी है. चाचा को भी अंकल, मामा को भी अंकल. तो इसका हिंदी नाम है बुरांस और साइंटिफिक नेम है रोडोडेंड्रॉन. और ये कहते हैं 42 टाइप्स के होते हैं. यहाँ पे ये 3 प्रकार के मिलेंगे आपको. सबसे इनका जो बेस्ट सीज़न रहता है वो मार्च से शुरू हो जाता है, फरवरी एंड मार्च से, और मई जून जुलाई तक रहता है. बट इस बार थोड़ा सा हैवी रेनफॉल हो गया था बीच में, बेमौसम बरसात हो रही है ग्लोबल वार्मिंग की वजह से, तो ये फ्लावर थोड़ा डिस्ट्रॉय हो गया.
क्या चलाना बस.
सारा how was the trek? Day 1, Ali Bedni Bugyal. How was the trek? Cool, huh? And what do you have in your hand?
Walkie-talkie.
Wow.
She's the trek leader. Yeah.
You're the trek leader?
Yeah, she's been coordinating for us for the past 3 hours.
Yes, wow.
Boys here also. Take your bag off and add in there.
Did any of the ladies with you, and did you hear what I was saying?
Anshuman, jacket
I
pehno.
was literally around you and you didn't even notice me.
Sarah, can you show around the tents with this?
You can ask Vaidehi.
Show around, show.
Okay, so this is the place. This is our first camp. I think, yeah, this is our first camp. There are several tents. I like the way they made the tents. 1 second. So, and this is my walkie-talkie. Got it. So, they are offering us some welcoming drink. And yeah, let me show you the welcoming drink.
So this is my sir, Deepak.
This is Deepak uncle.
We are near Ali Bugyal, and that's the highest peak, which is like 12,500 feet, and we are presently in 11,500, and that's the trail which goes all the way to Ali Bugyal. That's Ali Bugyal, and we are already 11,500, and look at that side. That's the route to Rupkund, and it's like completely cloud covered, and the chances of rain and whiteout. So Sarah is sitting there, so we decided not to go all the way. It's a spectacular place, spectacular views, and they call these as meadows. But yeah, it should be even more greener, but nevertheless it's quite green. And that area that you see, so we came down, we came from this side, that is basically Lower Jung side, and then the straight route goes to Rupkund, which is closed now, but you can see a temple there. So that's where the Himalayan Kumbh, it's actually a temple on the way to Himalayan Kumbh. So Himalayan Kumbh is like 200 plus kilometers and 24 days of hiking barefoot. So that's the prominence of this place. And now we'll go and see what Sarah is doing. She is like playing with the gimbal.
My hands are too tired. Which is the longest mountain range in the world?
Andes.
Okay, they two are saying Andes. Anybody else? Alps. He's saying Alps. Where are Alps? हाँ थोड़ा loud बोलो. Alps, Switzerland. Okay, Europe. Alps is Europe. Andes. South America. South America. क्या confidence है? Geography नीचे का favorite. मैंने इसका favorite subject geography के साथ नहीं. Okay, चलो point given to him. Andes is the longest mountain range in the world. How long is it?
It stretches the entire South America.
Okay. Throw a number. How long? Then I'll come to Himalayas after that. How long is that mountain range?
2000.
Okay, great. कुछ नंबर दिया, चलो great. और नंबर दो.
5000.
हाँ?
5000.
चलो 5,000. Great.
7,000.
10,000.
10,000.
7,001. 7,000.
दीने का नाम बोलो.
It is 7,000 kilometers. It stretches. It is unbelievable that the entire mountain range stretches from the north to the south of the entire continent. Country to even I don't remember, but it is called Aconcagua. That is also not 7,000. That is as high as or almost as high as this Mriktuni, which we'll see 100 meters higher than this. That is the highest.
South
point
America,
of
right?
Himalayas.
South America, right?
South America, Andes. Yeah.
How did it come to form?
How did it come to form at the side of an ocean?
I don't know.
टेक्टोनिक प्लेट्स
उसमें
किधर आया
उसमें नहीं हुआ उसमें कोई कॉन्टिनेंट तो बिड़ा नहीं ना I haven't read about Andes कि कैसे फॉर्मेशन हुआ but I'm very curious now.
ऐसे तो फॉर्म होता है ऐसा मतलब it did this and was like bye नहीं like western घाट्स भी ना western घाट्स भी वैसे ही I'm done with this bye
Correct but that is because of volcanic eruption. We don't know how Andes are formed.
which ones are so volcanic
Mriktuni. Thuni. Yeah. How long are the Himalayas? Himalayas कितने लंबे हैं?
6,000.
कुछ
Oh,
they are growing
600 years.
only
अरे
No,
नहीं
no.
तो
गूगल
India
से
is
तो बहुत
not
पहले आ
only
गए थे
600
ये.
years old.
Sorry, not 600. It's BC.
Okay, चलो.
600
इतनी
BC is
calculation
what?
बड़ी कठिन हो जाएगी.
100 years.
We have another geography expert coming here. So he'll
Who?
also
Which
join.
one of these?
This guy, Prithvi. Yeah.
So फिर इसलिए बाद में आ रहा है क्या?
So give number. No, give numbers again.
2600 as per their calculations.
2,600.
यहीं से पता है.
Okay. Prithvi, how old are Himalayas?
Millions of years, right?
Elder to me.
Yeah, millions of
Correct.
Diana.
कैसे करेगा? About.
Yeah, I'm going to keep time. It's only more than 10,000. Hey, more than 10,000. You're saying the same.
Yappa, throw a number. Throw.
अनुमान लगाइए.
1.1 million he is saying.
वो कितना हुआ फिर?
He's 1.1 million.
10 लाख.
10 लाख साल हो गए.
1 million.
What is this behavior? हाँ. How about anybody else? He's saying 1.1 million.
सही बोल रहे होंगे, पढ़ा होगा तो अब गैस मारने का क्या फायदा? गैस ना. अरे तुम्हारा भी गैस था?
बहुत साल हो गए. See, I'll tell you. At least for your understanding, we have 3 parallel mountain ranges, right? We have the Great Himalayas, which we are seeing right here. Then where we are, this is the Middle Himalayas. Then we have the Shivaliks. The first one to come into existence were these. The Great Himalayan Range. This is the first one which came. And अभी सबसे highest number आया 1.1 million. कोई और बोली देना चाहता है और बड़ी 1.6 million और देना चाहता है
2 million.
2 million.
No, for me it's like 100 million.
Some 6 is there, you know, some 6 is there.
They are known to be, see, these are all theoretically based. They are known to be 50 million years old. 50.
I said 100.
They're known to be one of the
Not bad.
or the youngest mountain range in the world, yet ancient. So 50 million years old. This one where we are, they're known to be 25 to 30. And the Shivalik, where you have Rishikesh, Mussoorie, Dhanolti, all that, is known to be 10 million years old. And according to some geologists and researchers, they say that there could be a 4th parallel range in another 10 million years. So तब दिल्ली भी पहाड़ों में होगा.
But how do you know how old a mountain is?
So this is based on the dating. 2,400 kilometers long. How do we calculate that it is 2,400? How do we know this is the start and this is the end point? How do you get to know that?
Considering the borders.
Okay.
Then
Then I will ask you, from where does it start?
probably from
Afghanistan. Afghanistan has Hindu Kush.
the Aksai Chin.
Aksai Chin has Zanskar and Ladakh range. That is known to be Trans-Himalayan range. They are Trans-Himalayan. Come next. Okay, he said borders. How else can...
Maybe some minimum range, and if it goes below that, then the range breaks.
Huh?
Height.
The last mountain in the range in South
I don't know if you're close to it or not, but
ऊपर से नीचे आते होंगे, like highest and then the very small, and they might have a cap.
Some ratio.
Okay, chalo, I'll change the question. I'll make it slightly easier. From where does the mountain range start and ends? Starts and ends.
Sea level.
हाँ? कहाँ से point start होता है? Himalayan range शुरू कहाँ से होती है? And let me give you a clue. It starts from a particular peak.
Sara, you want to come
There
and
is a
sit here?
starting point of the
Come
Himalayan
and sit
range
here.
and there is an end
You
point
can listen
also.
to me easily.
It just doesn't end like, oh, mountain range hai, khatam ho gaya. No, there is a point. There are two peaks. Yeah, one very famous. Another one is famous but not very famous. K2 is in Karakoram range.
काराकोरम भी है
हाँ बहुत सारी range है.
नहीं याद सा आया अभी
Okay, shall I tell you? Okay, so what is known that Himalayan range exists between 2 points. The western one or the northwestern one is known as the Western Syntaxial Bend, and there is one in the Eastern Himalayas which is called the Eastern Syntaxial Bend. The one in the Western Himalayas is Nanga Parbat. Nanga Parbat is the starting point from the western side of the Himalayas, and the eastern side you have another peak called Namcha Barwa. Namcha Barwa.
which state it falls in
Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal.
Pakistan to Arunachal.
Yes. If you know Nanga Parbat, jahan par where Nanga Parbat is, that is also called the Pamir Knot. Why it is called a knot? Because 3 mountain ranges come and meet at that particular junction. You have the Hindu Kush, then you have the Pamir mountain range from the top, and then you have the Pamir or Karakoram. One of them comes from the north, and then you have the Himalayan range. So Himalayan range starts from there and ends in Namcha Barwa. Nanga Parbat is one of the 8,000 meter high peak and known to be a very savage peak. 8,000, I forgot the height exactly, but 8,000 plus meters. Then you have the Namcha Barwa, which is 7,758 meters high. If you want to remember, it is as high as Kamet, which is the second highest mountain in our country. Kamet is the second highest. I'll tell you the first highest also in India. Do you have a follow-up question that how do I know the
Because you've
mountain?
been there.
नहीं मैं कहाँ पीओ के जाऊँगा?
No, but you said how.
Google.
No, Karnas, how they formed. I think that was a technical question, right? Not a geographic question.
Yeah.
You said how the start and end point formed. That was your original question, right?
Yeah.
हाँ.
How it is formed. So what happened? थोड़ा सा पीछे जाऊँगा मैं. Help me because I know you also know it. When all of the continents, they were just one big mass land. Acknowledgement from him. from him. So when we had one big mass land, what was it called? Pangaea. Correct. Then Pangaea से 2 big mass land थे. एक northern hemisphere में था और एक southern में था. Northern one was
Gondora नहीं southern one was Gondora
एक था Gondwana land और एक था Laurasia.
Laurasia.
Northern one. Laurasia was in the northern one. Southern में Gondwana land था. Gondwana land में we had Africa, South America, Australia, India, and the rest of the countries, China, Europe, North America, Canada, they were all in the northern hemisphere. Further it got separated. So from Africa, Australia and India got separated. So when it got separated, Australia started moving towards the east. India started moving towards the northeast. Okay, and it was moving at a very slow pace. I think some 1 to 3 centimeters in a year. Can you imagine a continent moving this much in a year? It took millions of years for it to travel all the way to the northern, this continent, which was Laurasia at that time. So जब वो collide किया, when it collided, because India was moving. This is India. This is this Laurasia or China, you can say. It started moving like this. So when it collided, the first collision happened, and then it started moving anti-clockwise. The Indian continent started moving anti-clockwise, and it struck from the eastern side also. So the first and these 2 points, they turned out to be the start and end point of the Himalayas. They are based on theories. I'll explain you how and what happened. Now before Indian continent collided. Now this is interesting. Now when Indian continent collided, there was a sea, there was an ocean between India and the this continent. what was the name, or what's the name, or what was the name? It was Tethys Sea. Shayad suna hoga. Tethys Sea was there. So when this collided, the Tethys Sea, वो तो disappear ही हो गया, and then both collided, and it just came up. It just came up. I think it is believed that the Indian continent went in, and it lifted the Laurasia, because here you had Tibetan plateau. Plateau is very high, so वो उसमें घुसा, and then it lifted the entire continent, and of course these Himalayan ranges came up after that. So before this even existed, now I'm coming to the theory how we came to the conclusion that okay, this is the syntaxial bends of the Himalayas. There were two major rivers flowing from the Tibetan plateau. They still exist. Brahmaputra, Sangpo as they call it, or Brahmaputra, and then there is another one. Brahmaputra goes towards the east. There is one which comes towards the west also. Indus. These two rivers, they changed their entire course of the river based on that theory, because the Himalayan range, they came so high. See, it's actually the wall. It is actually the wall which stood straight up. So the entire river, the river system changed its course. It started flowing, around these peaks. So that's when they came up with the theory that this is the starting point. This would have been, these 2 points would have been there when the continent struck the Laurasian continent at that time. So that is the theory behind the start and end point of the Himalayan range. Nanga Parbat, Namcha Barwa, 2,400 kilometers. And Indus still exists. Brahmaputra also is there. And utna lamba uska wo pura channel chalta hai, because the entire range came so high that beach mein se there was no way that it could cross the range. It had to flow all the way around the entire Himalayan range. Brahmaputra dekhoge, and they both originate from very nearby points around Kailash, Mount Kailash. So they originate very close to this peak. One flows eastwards, one flows westwards. And for your knowledge, we are blessed with Himalayas. They actually protect us in many ways. Of course, it protects us from China. नहीं तो हो चुका होता काम शायद. But other than that, I'll ask you a question. This is another, you can exercise your mind. Imagine under the soil before it dies, and then it dies down, and then a small root comes out of its head. And that root comes out of the soil. You can just see this much only. It looks like dry grass only. Very difficult to identify if you're walking and seeing it. Probably we would have crossed 1-2 also. Maybe. But at very high elevation. Maybe around Bedni top. Not at this altitude. This much only it comes out. And then when you take the entire herb out, it looks like a caterpillar and a root coming out of its head.
Oh.
Yeah. What it is told that it works as an aphrodisiac. और इसका जो काम आता है वो बहुत सारे कंट्रीज में उसको इस्तेमाल किया जाता है in increasing the endurance for a lot of athletes. तो स्मगलिंग होती है उसकी. It gets smuggled from here in the Himalayas. It goes down, then it goes to Delhi. Delhi में बहुत famous market है. Those who know about Delhi, वहाँ पे खारी बाउली मसाले की मार्केट है. वहाँ से ट्रेडिंग होती है नेपाल से जाती है यूरोपियन, चाइनीज एंड अदर कंट्रीज ऑल्सो. कहते हैं, आई डोंट नो हाउ ट्रू इट इज, कहते हैं वो डोप टेस्ट में नहीं आता. अच्छा. 1 किलो कीड़ा जड़ी गोज फॉर 8 to 14 लाख. 8 से 14 लाख रुपए की 1 kg जाती है. एंड पीपल फाइंड इट, एंड इट्स नॉट ईजी. लेट मी टेल यू, इफ यू गो टू पातर नचोनी campsite, you will see the entire family of local people coming there, pitching their tents for 2 months, and early morning they have their breakfast, they step out and they come straight in the evening collecting lot of, or how jitna bhi unko milta hai, they come back with a lot of this herb. And it's not easy. You don't walk, they don't walk and find it. They literally lie down on the mountain and they crawl. They crawl and they see and they keep digging. It's like very straining for the eyes, but it's highly rewarding. It's highly rewarding. And May and June is the only season. Sunlight is falling. Then here we have Mrikthuni. Okay? Mrikthuni. Then here we have Mektuli. We are not seeing the summit of any of the peaks. Mektuli. And then the fourth one we have Tharkot. These are the major peaks that we are seeing from here. Now I'll tell you some of the interesting facts. Mount Trishul is one of my favorite peaks. Why it is called Trishul? Because it's like a trident. It's like a Trishul of Lord Shiva, and it has 3 summits to it. Trishul 1, Trishul 2, Trishul 3. Trishul 1 is 7,120 meters high. Is one of the highest peaks in our country. Very technical to climb. A few years ago, people used to believe that nobody has ever climbed, thinking that it's the abode of Lord Shiva. But people have climbed it, and especially Britishers. They were such crazy people. I can't even imagine how 113 years ago they were climbing these peaks. I can't imagine. With such ancient gear, which was heavy, not as sturdy. Maybe they were so sturdy that they were so heavy. And no such technology, no GPX, no mobile that you can do quick access to it. They climbed this peak in 1907. And at that time, this was the first peak where oxygen cylinder was used to climb it. Before going on Everest or any other peak, first time oxygen cylinder was used on this peak only. Trishul 1. Going forward, it remained the highest peak to be ever climbed till 1936 when Nanda Devi peak was climbed. Nanda Devi is the highest peak of our country. We don't say Kanchenjunga because we share it. We say Nanda Devi is the highest. It's 7,820 meters high. Till 1936, this remained the highest peak to be ever climbed in the entire world. 1936, Nanda Devi, and after that straight Annapurna in 1950. And then 1953, Mount Everest. Okay? But coming back to Mount Trishul, one interesting fact which I think I told 6-7 of you, or 1-2 only. A team from Slovakia or Czechoslovakia, maybe one of these countries. They climbed the peak in 1950s. Later on, in 1980s, the daughter of one of the climbers who climbed in 1950s, the daughter, she came to climb Trishul. She climbed, and from Mount Trishul, she paraglided. She flew down from 2 of the team members, not just that one lady. 2 of the team members, they paraglided from Mount Trishul. I don't know where they landed, or if they ever landed. They did. But they came down. And back in 1980s, again, mind-boggling that what crazy things people were doing at that time, when nobody in India was trekking also. Imagine. So all the Britishers were very crazy climbers. They have explored Himalayas like anything, and of course to support them and to help them, our Indian and Nepalese porters, they were all helping. They were the back support. They were the backbone of these expeditions. But of course, they initiated it, so their name got documented for all these peaks. So that is Mount Trishul. Nanda Ghunti was climbed in 1960 something. That was climbed by, I think, Indian Army or Indian civilian. I forgot the name, but it was climbed in 1961. Not very high, 6,300, but looks very prominent. It's very beautiful peak, Nanda Ghunti. So that is Mount Trishul. Mrikthuni, Mektuni, Tharkot, I don't know the climbing history, but Trishul stands out. A lot of people do attempt Mount Trishul before climbing Everest. It's like a preparatory peak for them, and it's pretty technical. A lot of people die climbing this peak.